Channel 5 Network. This is OpenLine.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to News Channel 5 Plus right here on OpenLine, where tonight we are asking the attorney, and that attorney needed no introduction whatsoever, but it's Kevin Kennedy of the Kennedy Law Firm joining us all night tonight. And Kevin, we are always so happy to have you here.
My pleasure, Casey. It's so good to be with you each and every time. Casey is really a baby lawyer because she's learning. She loves to learn all this and share it. Isn't it true?
Taking notes. That's why I brought my pen, you guys.
It's good.
Well, Kevin, let's let folks know what we're going to be talking about tonight.
Okay.
Pretty much everything. You call in, let us know your questions, and this guy takes it away.
Yeah. Well, you know, I wanted to tell everyone about this newest trend that I'm seeing now. One of the newest trends is the most aggressive insurance companies I have ever seen. What they are doing, if you're involved in a little accident, they are on you the next day. And when they talk to you, they are always taping you. And so when people, and you know, a natural thing is so many people say, well, I'm not really hurt. Hello, come in, click, click, and they've got what they wanted to say. The next day, your neck is hurting. We have it happen all the time. You try to brush it off, but it really hurts. So then they go to the doctor, and then you want to hear what the insurance company calls, and they say, hey, they weren't hurt in the accident. We got them on tape. Now, if they hurt their back, they picked up their laundry. I had insurance adjusters. They picked up the heavy laundry. I said, be for real. We're not buying that story. And so we have to get past those guys. But I see it, and I'm telling everyone, you look after yourself. Look after your children. Don't make these statements. Don't make recorded statements. Try to get a lawyer, and it'll just take a lot of grief, and we can get it settled. 99% of the cases all get settled. And
that's just a taste of what you're going to get tonight when it comes to expert, excellent advice from the Kennedy Law Firm. I tell you what,
we're going to share.
That's right, and I want to go ahead and encourage you right off the top of the hour here to call that number on your screen. It's right there, 615-737+. Ask us anything tonight, and Kevin will get to it.
Yep, we love to share. One of the greatest things about having legal knowledge, and it would be a regret to me if I knew something that I could share and help you or help your family take some, and I didn't do it. It's and when you've spent your life trying to get the legal knowledge and the tricks of the trade, you want to share it. I heard Vince Lombardi say, learn your trade well and give it away for the rest of your life. And when you do more than what you're paid to do, one day you'll be paid more for what you do. And I do believe all those philosophies.
I love it, Kevin. Well, let's wonder too tonight if anybody new is tuning into the show for the first time, and kind of just reintroduce yourself to our friends tonight joining us. We're happy to have you here. Full hour with you tonight. We're so excited.
We're going to rock and roll. Starting next year is a pivotal year for the Kennedy Law Firm. 35 years. Each day when I'm in the law firm, we have them packed in there. I'm one of the guys that opens up early because I really believe the early bird gets the worm, so you get there early. And over the years, I try to bring my organization together. In fact, you're not going to believe this, since I knew Casey and I were going to do this show tonight, I did a law firm meeting with all the lawyers, and I was quoting Casey. She's really smart. But one of the things about a law firm is you have so many different perspectives. So if you want to learn what really goes on in a law firm, it's discussions. Very similar to board of directors. I've had the privilege to represent some big companies, international. One of them had 70 board members. Can you imagine?
Oh my goodness.
And so the secret is just discussing it. And as everyone becomes educated, and then you'll get an idea, had you thought about this? And it amazes me on the young lawyers, how many, what about this, what about that? And then we'll say, research that. And when they come back, say, Kevin, we got a surprise for you. I say, great, let's hear it. And that's how you get the cutting edge. It's really a proactive approach. And lots of people, one of the other things I said today, our support staff, we train them every week. And so when you go to the doctor, say, hey, what do you think about this? And they say, well, I'm not a doctor. You'll have to talk to the doctor. I said, I know that. And I train all my people too. You're not a lawyer. Tell them we can't give legal advice, but they are brilliant. And I love to discuss these. What do you think when we see one? And How do you evaluate it? And then it helps us all.
Well, speaking of learning and getting to questions tonight too, learning some advice is our good friend Reverend Fuzz joining us tonight. Hi, Reverend. Thanks for calling in.
Hi, Reverend. We love the pastors.
We do, we do.
Especially here at Christmas.
Well, I've got a hard question here.
Okay.
And this is a case that's going on right now. It's probably been on this news station.
All right.
The mother just called me today, and they're texting just as you're on, asking this question here.
Okay.
Here's a man who's been in jail 17 years. And back on the news a few months ago, it showed that the mother was saying that her other son is the one who committed this murder and not the guy who's in jail. In some kind of way, people agree with that, but he's still in jail. She's trying to understand why he hasn't been before a judge or why his lawyer is not responding. What do you think about something like that? You got the brother who says, I'm the one who did it, and then the other brother is the one who's been in jail 17 years, but after all these years, this brother comes to say, I'm the one who did what he's in jail for. And the system is not, doing anything to get him out of the jail. That's what his mother and sisters are really crying to me about today. And so can you answer something like that? And
yes.
Them, some guys, they're watching.
Okay, there's a couple of things that they should do. And remember this, the squeaky door gets the oil. If I were incarcerated, there's not a whole lot I can do, but I've got two brothers, and hopefully my relationships with my brothers, or Casey, my friend, somebody would advocate for me. There is a federal project called the Innocence Project that takes up things just like that. They are federally funded. So I would try to get to those guys and make your application. Again, I try to get to the public defender. If he has a lawyer, let the family go in and talk to the lawyer and say, here's where we're at. Will you do an affidavit? Can we do a DNA test, please? And if the public defender can't do it, I think I'd set up a meeting, try to go see the district attorney and talk to the district attorney. The DA's job, many times they talk about prosecution, but really the district attorney's job is to bring justice. And if they know that there is an injustice, they have an obligation to try to see that it's corrected. And so, and if worse came to worse, remember, anyone can file a petition pro se. That means representing themselves. Get in front of a judge. And if we have affidavits, what's an affidavit? You just say, I swear to the following. I, Kevin Kennedy, swear that I was the one, and get the affidavits, and you've got the evidence. Go to the court, and I submit to you, and if you didn't have an ear, you have a right to an appeal. There's so many things that a person can keep pursuing, and that's why we have the Supreme Court. And if a person's been incarcerated wrongfully, the halls of justice scream out with rage. And I want to say this about the pastor. Over my career, it has been the pastors that stood in the gap of people. Many people didn't have the resources, but the pastors, and I'll say it loud and clear, we love the pastors. And you show me a judge that won't respect a pastor, he doesn't need to be on the bench. We need people that, because this is the salt of the earth, this is where we come. And remember, except by the grace of God, there goes every one of us. The rich, the poor, the young and the old.
All right.
Thank you, Pastor.
Yes, thank you so much for the call. Let's see here. I believe we have Rachel on line 3. Hi, Rachel. What's your question?
Hi, I've obtained 2 separate judgments in General Sessions Court in Davidson County. The total amount is about $7,500 roughly. Is that enough to interest an attorney? And if not, can you give me any information about a property levy and an indemnity bond? And
okay, here's 2 things. I would try to find out and address some collection lawyers. If you've worked on this, sometimes people are judgment proof or never going to have anything, and if you got the squeeze on them, they could file a Chapter 7 bankruptcy and you get nothing. One of the things that you might consider is do an asset subpoena, meaning you go down there and you represent yourself. You file the asset subpoena, they're summons to court, the judge puts them under oath, and you ask them, what bank accounts do you have? What are the account numbers? What property? Is your car title in your name? Do you have anything? And if you have a judgment and they own real estate, you can take that judgment to the Register of Deeds and record it. What does that mean? If they go to sell it, they've got to pay that lien off first. And you have to keep a pulse on it. You have to renew it every so many years, or it could it could lapse. And again, I would just say keep advocating and work some of those.
All right, let's get to Robin on line 4. Hi, Robin.
Hey, I'm actually married to a convicted felon. He's in prison serving 30 years and 1 day now.
All right.
He was actually in prison in July. He got released July the 27th. He was selling and distributing methamphetamines at that time, and then he got out and he killed his girlfriend.
Oh my.
And yes, and I've been trying to get a divorce from him, and my lawyer is actually Ken Dillingham in Elton. And I was wondering, is there an easier way to get a divorce? I am not paying for him a lawyer.
Okay. Well, realistically, I'm surprised that you haven't been able to go ahead and get that, because usually you can file for the divorce. You can serve him. He's got 30 days to respond. Even if he responded, you can still say, okay, we're going to set a court date, and that court date is set, and if he's there, which he probably will not be there, then I'd ask for a default and move forward. Perhaps there's some other quirk to your case, but I'd have a good understanding. Remember, I've said it many times, a good understanding keeps down a misunderstanding. So you might ask Mr. Dillingham, what's keeping us from moving forward with a default? What's moving us from just setting this for trial and bringing our witnesses in? And according to you, all you really got to say is this guy's been convicted and he's 30 years. That's enough proof for grounds for fault. So I would just suggest to you, ma'am, pursue it, keep pursuing it.
All right, the lines are lining up. Let's get to our next question. Quentin on line 1, what's your question tonight?
I got a question. Dealing with criminal cases, is there a way to actually get back in the court and try to get something overturned that was already pleaded guilty on?
Okay. You know, we have that question quite often. There's certain statute of limitations. There's certain time requirements. If you pled guilty and you felt like you were misrepresented as to the facts, or there were newly discovered facts, then yes, you can file a petition with the court to withdraw your plea. The judge can make a decision. And then sometimes at the end, they have what's known as post-conviction relief. And then you would ask the court to reopen based on this new evidence, and they have a right to give you another trial.
All right, great. Let's get to our next caller here. Hi, you're on Open Line. Ask the Attorney. What's your question tonight? Hello. Do we have Pam on line 2?
Yes. I wanted to see if you can appeal settlement agreement in circuit court made under duress by me, the plaintiff proceed.
Okay, I'll address that. Usually when you have a settlement, you've appeared before the court, and under duress, if you could prove that the circumstances were under duress, I think you could withdraw that. Now, the question gets down to, normally the judges are always very sensitive to this, so when you go and make a plea, they say, raise your hand, and then you're on the record, under oath, and then you explain what you're going to do, and then afterwards some people say, well, I didn't understand this and didn't understand that. Well, they would go back and have that transcript and say it. So never say never. I always keep telling people, if you keep trying, you just keep trying, you'll get some relief somewhere, and I really do believe that. All
right, lots of great questions rolling in. I believe we have Rachel on line 3. Hi, Rachel. What's your question
how
tonight?
How you doing?
Great, Rachel. Go ahead.
Thank you for taking my call.
Thank you for calling.
Thank you so much. I slipped and fall. I slipped and fell a couple of years ago, and we're supposed to be settling hopefully in the next few months. My question to you is, maybe if you can give me some advice when we finally do settle. I'm worried. I mean, my suffering to this day, right now, still, I mean, my arm will never be the same.
Yes.
And I guess my question to you is, I've never had to be in anybody, other than a divorce. I've never been with a lawyer. Is there any kind of advice or,
yes.
Like my arm will never be the same?
Here's some of the things that I always like to share with people in ask the questions, the who, what, when, where, and how. When you answer those questions, you have a pretty good understanding of what we're confronted with. Slip and falls, I'll just share this. You have to say that there was a proximate cause of someone's negligence And then there was damages. Just because Casey came to my home and fell, she said she hurt herself. Hey, that's not all on me. Now we have to look at every case with the facts a little more significantly. If there was a hidden defect that I knew, perhaps we pulled some carpet over a floor that wasn't right and she hurt herself, then that was something that I knew and I should have told her about. I should have warned her. And if we didn't, all of that goes into the egregiousness of the liability. Sometimes we can prove the liability, then the damages. Well, she's hurt, she's going to be hurt for life. You have to have medical proof to say she is permanently disabled to some degree. And one of the things everybody never understands is that every time we hire an expert doctor, what do they want? They need to be paid. So that's another reason why you try to go to a lawyer that has resources. You know, there's some great lawyers out, but they may not have the resources to hire the experts to get it done. And if you get really good experts and you get it there, the other side knows the Kennedy Law Firm is not playing games. They've got it together. They're marching on us. How much can we settle? So many times we go to a media, and of course we hit them high, they hit us low. We come down, they go up. That is the real world. And most of the time we reach a middle ground, which is the best for all parties. That's why 99% of all cases are settled.
All right, great. Great question. Thanks for calling in. Now we have, I believe, James on line 5. Hi, James. You're on Open Line. What's your question?
Hi, how are you?
Great.
Okay. Hey, listen, I was in a car accident, real bad car accident in 2012. I got an attorney.
That's good.
The second party was at fault. My question to you, I only received $2,800 on this case. The car was totaled. My knee was messed up so bad that I had to wear a brace for a year.
Yes.
One, is there an actual way of finding out what that case was really settled for?
Yeah, here.
I was going to receive $2,800.
All right, let me share this with you. You know, if you have an automobile, insurance in Tennessee is mandatory, but there's minimum limits. For instance, if there's a $25,000 policy and they owe that, guess what? 2 or 3 trips to Vanderbilt, I burn up the $25,000. So what are you going to get? So that's where we run into problems many times. Your health care providers come in and say, hey, there's too much money, we want it all, and they file a lien. Well, the insurance company doesn't want. That's why you have to have a lawyer. And sometimes the best that you can negotiate is depending on how many the bills and how many different medical providers have filed liens. And so what's the word from this? Everybody check your insurance. Know what your declaration is. I don't sell insurance, but I tell everybody, have some uninsured motorists. And I would move my rates up a little bit if I were you. And I'd also, if you owned a home, you might consider an excess policy. You know, they're not that much, and you might get $1 million without spending a whole lot. And you say, well, why do I do that? I've got car. No, you don't have to. But in those circumstances, when you live a lifetime, the odds are great something's going to happen to somebody sometime. And so that's why we plan and we prepare. So thank you for that question. And never before in my career, even my lawyers, we face the insurance companies are squeezing these offers to so little, it's unbelievable. That's why you have to have a big team, be prepared to file it, be prepared to go to mediation, and if they still won't quit, be prepared to try it.
That's how you kick off a show, Kevin Kennedy.
Hello.
The phone lines are just completely all kinds of calls coming in tonight. We're very excited to hear from you. Keep it right here on News Channel 5 Plus. We're going to get to Bob and Courtney coming up next. Just hang on and we will get to you. Kevin Kennedy, great advice tonight.
We got to take a break.
Got to take a break.
Stay tuned.